wonderful friends, today I want to show you how to make Georgian traditional cheese bread. Different regions in Georgia make their own cheese bread, and the one that I'm making today is from a region called Achara, and it's called Achaaruli Khachapuri. In order to make this cheese bread, we need to make a dough. So for the dough, we need flour, we need some yeast, and we need a little bit of sugar. And I'll show you how to make a dough in a little bit. We need some melting cheese. So sometimes I use queso cheese and sometimes I use mozzarella cheese mixed along with crumbled feta. So equal parts of queso or mozzarella mixed with feta cheese. We definitely need some eggs, and I have some heirloom eggs here that I picked up in Trader Joe's. We need some butter. We're gonna add this towards the end as well. So let's get started. So first and foremost, let's make a dough. The dough is super easy to make, and if you don't have time to make a dough, you can certainly buy one at the store and let it rise a little bit. In order to make a dough, I'm going to take 3 cups of flour. Just to give you an idea, 1 cup of flour will make 1 cheese bread. So I'm going to have 3 cups of flour, and this is half a cup. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of yeast. I always add a little bit of sugar to my dough. It helps it rise. So this is 1 teaspoon of sugar. So let's add a little bit of salt. And we want to add to this about 1.5 cups of lukewarm water, and it cannot be too hot because otherwise the dough will not rise. Because I've done this so many times, I'm just going to pour water directly from the sink, but you definitely want to measure it because you don't want your dough to be too liquidy. But if that happens, it's no problem. Add a little bit more flour. You don't want to over mix the dough, and the reason is that if you over mix this, it's not going to be as airy it's supposed to be. So we're just gently going to mix this to incorporate all the water, and if you don't have enough water, you just add a little bit more. As you can see, this dough is a little bit on the runny side, and the reason why I keep this way because it rises a little faster, and then in a couple hours I can add more flour to it and put it in the fridge overnight. When you're making dough, you definitely want to let it rise really long time. That's the key of making a good dough. Let it rise for over 12 hours so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to cover my dough with a towel and let it sit for a couple hours. I already have a dough that I prepared earlier to show you exactly how this should look like in a couple hours. So at this point, what you want to do when you have a dough in this stage, before putting it in the fridge, add a tiny bit of flour, just like dust it on top. Just take your hand as if you're folding this. Make a little ball. Now cover this again, put it in the fridge overnight. So this is a dough that I had in the fridge overnight, and I took this in the morning. I've added a little bit more flour. I had it sitting on the counter maybe about 2 hours. Let me show you the air bubbles it has. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. We're going to take our queso or mozzarella cheese, and we're going to mix feta. And this one should be a little bit more crumbled, so let me just crumble this up. Okay, so let's mix this together with a spoon. I'm going to add a little bit of milk to this. So now my favorite part. I took a pizza peel, put some flour here, and we're going to take a little bit of dough and start putting everything together. So we just take a small amount of dough and work it with our hands, kind of stretch it apart, stretch it out a little bit. So instead of a round shape, you kind of want it to have more oval shape because the cheese bread is supposed to look like a boat. For the rest, I'm going to use my hands. we're going to roll the sides. Probably like twice rolling is good. And then we'll do the same thing on this side, roll it twice. We're going to take the edges and put them together. And now let's stretch it out a little bit. So here I'm going to add some cheese to this. Not too much cheese because we don't want it to overflow. So we'll put this in the oven for about 20 minutes or so until about cooked. And what we're gonna do later is stretch the cheese a little bit and add an egg in the middle. I'm gonna take one of these heirloom eggs. I'm gonna crack this egg and add that to the cheese bread. And we want to make sure when we crack them, egg stays whole. So I pulled one from the oven and it's almost done. So what I'm gonna do is just push down these edges a little bit so that when I add an egg, it's not gonna overflow anywhere. Make a space in the middle and let's add this egg. So let's slide this back in the oven and you can use your hands for a little bit longer until egg semi-cooks. So I took the cheese bread out of the oven and you can see that egg is almost cooked. It's still soft inside. Add a little bit of butter before serving. So Acharuli Khachapuri or Georgian Acharuli cheese bread is ready to be served. Enjoy. And I think I should show you how to eat this. Okay, so here's how we eat this cheese bread. You take your knife and then you just push this through the edges. You kind of mix everything together really well. You break your egg. Take some parts of the bread as well. Then you start from the corner and you cut a piece. And you know what? Cut a piece with your hand. And you dip this in this cheese and egg consistency. And you take a bite. This is just divine. And I hope you enjoy as much as I do.